Hello everyone, my name is Pacha and welcome to another episode of Wahat Jamila, our new small animal zoo made or created for the Arid Animal Pack. No, it's not an Arid Animal Pack, it is an Arid Animal Pack. I was right. It kind of gets confusing after after 14 packs that we have now. It kind of gets confusing. But yeah, the Arid Animal Pack, of course, is what we got just not even a month ago. And here we are now today building for what might be one of my favorite animals from the new pack. You can see it right front and center right now on the screen. It's of course the Somali Wild Ass, the Somali Wild Donkey, if you don't want to use the word ass. I will later give a small fun fact why it's called an ass and what's the reason behind that. But yeah, we are building on the other side of the oasis lake. I don't know how, if there is a specific name for this type of lakes, but on the other side of this lake again. Last time we were building for the porcupine next to the sandcat, and now we are across the plaza on the other side, and we are creating a nice little stable, arid, herbivore kind of habitat for not only the Somali Wild Ass but also for the Thompson Gazelle, which was part or is part of the deluxe upgrade DLC. The deluxe DLC, I don't know if it's a DLC or not, but yeah, I never used it. It was part of the free animals there next to the Komodo dragon and the pygmy hippo. And I thought, hey, the Somali Wild Ass looks a little bit lonely in here, so why not give them some small friends to play around? And it's also nice for the guests to have some bigger animals next to some smaller ones, and mixing herbivores together is always a nice feature. And speaking of mixing animals, and maybe you're wondering, what is there a big empty space in the middle of the habitat right now on the screen that I was building now with these fences? Now, this is something for a future episode, basically, when we are done with all the DLC animals, and then we will add some young, older animals from other packs. And this space in the middle there between the two viewing areas for the Somali Wild Ass will become a habitat, little spoiler here, for meerkats. That's right, I will place a meerkat habitat in the middle of the Somali Wild Ass habitat. Basically, for now it only acts as like a bit of nature scenery. We'll later add some rocks there, and then it will become a meerkat habitat, kind of giving a nice view, a nice panorama view with the Somali Wild Asses and the Thompson Gazelle in the background, the meerkat in the foreground. I kind of think it will look lovely when it's finished. But yeah, two things I want to talk about today. One thing is, as I said, the little fun fact about the Somali Wild Asses, where the name comes from, because we did some little research in our live stream. And the second thing is something you guys asked me a lot about, almost over my career, not really career, but over my time here on YouTube and on Twitch, and that is where I get inspiration for my builds from. For example, for these fences there, that these very typical North African fences, desert fences that I have built to separate the two parts of the habitat, for example. And before we talk about that, let's talk about the elephant in the room, no, the ass in the room. And it is not what you think, and no, the name ass has nothing to do with these animals being assholes. Sorry for my words. Or that these animals refuse to move if they don't like the way something is going, which is very typical for donkeys, that they in dangerous situations they just froze in place and refuse to go further. But this is not the reason for the ass, for the name ass. The reason behind it is fairly simple and somewhat also not really cool, I have to say. But the Latin word for donkeys, the Latin word for the species donkey in general is Asinos, with one S. Asinos means a donkey, and that is how, or at least that is a common theory, how the ass got to his name, because in English the word Asinos, when Latin wasn't the most common language anymore, the word got shorter and shorter. It got more commonly spoken around the common folks, and then was at some point shortened to ass to refer for the word donkey. And another little fun fact, because this one was really interesting, is that the Somali Wild Ass is most likely the ancestor of all donkeys that we have today. That of all domesticated donkeys, the wild asses are there, or the Somali wild asses are their ancestor. So if you next time see a donkey in a petting zoo or on a farm, you know where it comes from. Right, but let's talk about inspiration, why we are building the Backstage Building, and for this time you will see it in the real-time part. I actually put somewhat of a backstage in this building, not a finished one, but at least I placed the stables and everything. And at one point I will have to make kind of either a full dedicated backstage episode, because building all the backstages for these animals here, or we'll do it on live stream. But after the big backstage in Raven Creek, I was just a little bit tired out of doing these kinds of things, these rooms and zoos, and I just didn't want to spend more time in these videos with building these backstages and everything, because I had done it to a great degree already in Raven Creek, but they will become, before this map goes live, every area, every habitat exhibit will have a backstage. This is something I will promise, even if it's just a rudimentary one, but they will have one that is kind of functional to how the habitat is laid out. But yeah, about the build. Let's talk about inspiration, because I get a lot of questions from time to time asking me where I get my inspiration from, what zoos or places I copy these ideas from, all these habitats from, if I have some tips about that, if I just, if it's all my imagination or anything like that. And I have to say, sorry if my nose, by the way, sounds a little bit weird. It's still allergy season, but back again. I still have to say, it really depends on the build that I'm doing. Sometimes it's my own ideas that go into what I'm building. So I create something in my head, and then I think how I could do that. Sometimes it's something that I see in a zoo that I really like and want to recreate, either for that animal or for another animal, like for example Leipzig's South America area that I'm now recreating in Raven Creek. Or for example these fences that I made here, these very typical African fences that I talked about before, which I saw in Berlin Zoo, in the zoological garden of Berlin, for their African area. It's not really an African area but for the African hoofstock area. They have these very typical North African fences that they have in North Africa to keep their livestock and camels and such enclosed. And that's why my inspiration for that came from. And sometimes I just research. For example, I Google Somali Wild Ass enclosure, and then I look what comes up, what ideas or pictures people have taken from different zoos around the world, or even from the wild, from natural habitats comes up, and how can I combine that into a habitat. But I also wanted to give you two small websites, not small websites, but two websites as a kind of a guideline, or something you can go to if you look for inspiration. And these two websites are, for one, Zoo Shed, and the other one is Zoo Lex. Kind of same name, Zoo Lex, and like lexicon, and Zoo Shed, like a shed. The first, so Zoo Shed, is more of a public space, so to say, where people from all the world around the world publish pictures they take in zoos, and then they make folders for these. They make categories for these zoos, so you can go on this website, look for a specific zoo or for specific zoos in a specific country or on a continent, and then you mostly find a lot of pictures from all different years and different people of these zoos that people have taken, most of course from the guest path, so no behind the scenes stuff there, but you still get a nice array of pictures. That is how I got most of my pictures for Zoo Leipzig. For my South American area from Zoo Leipzig, I went to ZooChat, googled Zoo Leipzig, and then I searched for pictures from South American area, and that's how I got a lot of inspiration and recreation material from there. As I said, it's only public areas that are mostly depicted. I don't know of any case right now from my head where backstage or restricted areas would be photographed and published on that site. But for that matter, you have ZooLex. ZooLex, also called the Zoo Design Organization, is a dedicated space or dedicated website where actual zoos or designers publish their creations and share all the info about that exhibit, for example, or that area that they're building. Mostly also sharing blueprints and site plans, so you can also look these things up. So you see maybe what the backstage areas look like, where fire escapes are, where technical rooms are, such things that you mostly don't see even if you are having a backstage tour. You see that they also share the plan. Sometimes they share the plans that they are using in this area. They share what type of fencing they are using, all sort of things. The only downside to that site or that website is that, of course, it doesn't have all the information on everything. It's not like every design or every zoo is found on that website. I think let's take Zoo Leipzig as an example again, because we already used it. Zoo Leipzig, I think, only has the Pongoland. So, no, it has two sides. It has a Pongoland on it, so their big ape enclosures, and it has their lion enclosure on that website. But everything else, South American area, African area, the Asian area, the Gondwana land, so the tropical area, are not found on that website. So you always have to look up if you really find something. But if you just look up stuff like Eurasian otter exhibits, it will show you different Eurasian otter exhibits from different zoos that are uploaded on that website. So you can also get some really cool behind the scenes footage there, pictures of technical stuff, of water pipes, electrical lines, and everything like that. Breeding rooms, sort of like, I think I found a couple of pictures of giant otter breeding rooms. The different breeding rooms and sort of like that. So these two websites, ZooChat and ZooLex, are what I use a lot of to get inspiration for my habitats. And for example, what I took from ZooChat was the type of fencing you see at the moment here in the front, with these a lot of rocks to kind of keep the animals away from the very low guest fence. And it's because that hoofstock generally, or hoofstock that lives on plains, not on mountains, generally avoids walking on sharp rocks and sharp surfaces. So having all these different small rocks here with sharp edges and everything, having them all together with also some logs and wood pieces and later some spiky plants, kind of avoids these animals getting too close to the guest fence, and thus giving them an opportunity to escape this area. And this is something I took from ZooChat, from a couple of enclosures for African plain animals there. I know that the Somali Wild Ass is known for walking on difficult terrain, but I'm still certain that they will not escape. I mean, as someone said, why should an animal escape a space where it has everything it needs where it's safe, where it has food and water and enrichment? Why would it go somewhere else? You also don't flee your own home if you have the opportunity. And also don't ignore these little emojis that pop up at some point on the screen. Last week with the porcupine enclosure, I forgot to turn off the chat. This time I forgot to turn out the emojis. Why? Because while I was streaming this on my Twitch channel. By the way, if you want to join and want to see me building these enclosures live and in color and in real time, I highly suggest visiting our Twitch channels on every Friday from 9 p.m. Central European Summertime to around 11 p.m. Central European Summertime, so around 2 hours I'm streaming, mostly Planet Zoo, in the majority Planet Zoo, and then at certain points I'm also building live, basically for stuff that I later use in a video. So if you want to already get some sneak peeks, yeah, tune in every Friday and you might see what will come up next week on YouTube. So you already know more than the rest of the world. But yeah, I will now leave you now with the rest of the video. If you have more questions about inspiration, everything, if I should make an own dedicated video where I talk more in detail about where I get my inspiration from, what I'm doing, and how do I make a concept for a habitat, let me know in the comments if you are interested in that, and then I might do a little talk video where I talk about these sort of things, and maybe also provide some extra material like info about ZooChat and ZooLex and other websites. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in such thing, and I see what I can do. But now I will leave you with the rest of the music, and then I see you in the real-time part at the end of the video. Alright, let's look at everything we created in this video today. Let's look at the real-time part. But before we look at our new exhibit over there, I have to show you something that I forgot to show in the last video about the African crested porcupine. And that is, if you go onto this little viewing point over here, you can get a view into the African crested porcupine exhibit. There you can see them running. And you can also see my peace graveyard over there, so ignore that. But yeah, I don't know how this slipped through my presentation, because I specifically made this view, or specifically took care that this view is undisturbed by plants and everything, so that you can see the porcupines from over here. So there you have it, something I missed in the last episode. No, I don't have to feel bad anymore. But let's not get distracted, and let's look at the new stuff that we created today. So if we can come now over to this side, we have our new exhibit for the Thompson Gazelle over there, and our Somali Wild Asses over there in the background. And I really like and love how this habitat turned out. I wasn't sure in the beginning, as always, if there are no plants and everything, it can kind of look a little bit lame, but in the end I'm really happy how it developed, and especially love this little path, or this little stone area over here with all the plants and all the spiky stuff that keeps the animals away from the guest fence. I love the blue tiles that go all around the building like a ribbon, and also these stone cases for the water troughs, which is something you actually see a lot in real zoos, that they don't use metal ones because they can get quite hot in the summer, so they use stone versions, or other materials, not metal materials, like concrete, so to make these watering troughs, watering bowls for the animals, so that the animals can drink from them. And actually we have two viewing areas here, three if you count the middle one. We have this large one over here that is very close to the building itself, so means also the animals that come into here are very close to the guests, because there is not much space between the building and the guest fence. And then you have where the Somali Wild Asses actually are standing at the moment. You have this view over here, where you can also see them eat and drink, and you have a more deep view into the habitat with much more space between the fence and the building. so you get more of a panoramic view over here. And then of course you also have this version in the middle, which will, as I said, in the speed build become our future meerkat habitat as soon as we are done with the DLC animals. And then, as you can see already kind of demonstrated here, you will see the Somali Wild Ass and the Thompson Gazelle in the background and the meerkats in the foreground, which I think will look really amazing, really cool to have this panoramic view over here. And something I also wanted to talk about is this wall over here. I'm open for suggestions, so leave me some ideas in the comments what I could build instead of this wall. We already talked about a little bit about it in the stream last week. Yeah, every plant zoo animal always. But I'm not really happy with this wall. It looks too massive, too menacing or almost, and I'm not really sure what to put in its place instead. Maybe this fence over here, but then we have nothing behind it or apart from a keeper fence in the future, because this will be the keeper access, the main keeper access to this building. So I don't really know what to put here, what type of fence or wall, anything like that. So open for your ideas, and if one of them really sparks my my ideas and imagination, then I'm making sure to name you in the next video once, or in the video when I change that fence out. And yeah, last thing to show or to talk about why we are looking at this exclusive keeper view over here. And I have to say, Thompson Gazelle, despite being a DLC base game animal, because let's be honest, the free animals from the deluxe DLC are base game animals, or should have been base game animals. Either way, I kind of like them. They have a cool model. They look really cool. They look like the real animal that you can see in a lot of zoos. So Frontier did an amazing job. And yeah, Somali Wild Ass, it's amazing. So much personality in this animal, in this donkey, and I really love it. One of my favorite animals from this pack, but I think I already said that. But yeah, let's have a quick look into the backstage area, and it's empty. As I said, there's nothing in here apart from the stables for the Somali Wild Ass and for the Thompson Gazelle over there. No tools, no enrichment stuff, no storage, anything like that. And yeah, as I said, I will make a dedicated episode or a live stream for making these backstage areas for all the animals that I don't do them for. So also for the sandcat and the porcupine. And as promised, I will not release that map without a full backstage for all the animals. So you can be sure that there will be stuff there in the end when I release the pack. But yeah, this is it about the Somali Wild Ass episode, and if you've liked this episode, maybe consider giving it a like, and if you feel especially happy, you know it, then consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We are getting so close to 1000 subscribers, and you would make me really, really happy. I'm landing on the roof again, so this is landing on the roof for this episode, and yeah, but yeah, you would make me really, really happy if we can reach that goal, and you would make my day. So maybe it's something you can do for me when watching my videos instead. Yeah, in exchange. But I hope you liked it, and I hope I see you in the next video next week. And until then, have a great time, stay safe, and bye bye everyone.